insurance company.
There you go.
It says.
Could raise the rate?
It could raise the rate. It can affect, she said up to 10% it can affect the rate.
But I thought like the mentor.
Oh, I think that's good.
Yeah,
But like the stuff that workers and stuff like that, that's the stuff that's, it's not necessarily mandatory.
Well, and my work does it too. Probably not the same reason. Don't raise the rate.
Yeah, that could be, I don't know.
Hey, we are ready. Good evening. Councilor Holt.
Yes, so I did not have
Okay,
Yeah.
you did not have it.
I was terrible Saturday. I forgot to write the agenda.
There's a Facebook acquaintance that, when I said that I was studying Spanish, she said she'd be happy to.
Nice.
I think that's her first language. So we sent a couple, messages back and forth, and she let me know. Yeah.
Well, each country does it a little bit different.
Well, the translate said use para twice in that sentence, and she said it didn't need to use para. So I didn't know if I didn't need to use para anytime or both times. Close to 7 months now.
Oh, okay. Public hearing?
Yes.
Yep, way down near the bottom for the moratorium. Oh, you mean
I have that much better.
forum.
I know.
I can read it better than I
Public
can.
hearing, we open up for 1 minute.
Or
The
hear
red
it.
jug.
I know, right?
What I'm talking about.
Okay.
And left is, I forget what left is.
I don't turn my phone off. I can't think of two things at once.
As far as,
I'm gonna try for 3 hours to see if that's
When we get to the city council appointment, William Kent wants to speak to me, so I can put this right here, so we don't forget.
all the notebooks at the Dollar Tree.
Yeah, he signed up to speak during that item.
During that time.
So right down there.
I put right there for you to get it.
I'm just writing it.
Good evening, welcome to the Creswell City Council, December 11, 2023. Would you please join me as we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming this evening. We begin tonight with interviews for a vacant position on the City Council. As you can see, we have one empty seat here, and this is a vacancy that it would be filled the first meeting of January 2024. It expires December 31st, 2024, so it is an appointment for 1 year. We had 4 applicants. One of them dropped out today, and that was Lisa Benson, who sent me a nice email saying, and Counselor, if you read over her resume, you saw she's retired and she likes to travel. And in our previous conversation, she told me how often she traveled, and I said, well, you just need to present that to the council when you're interviewed, and the council will decide. She sent me an email today saying, well, I just scheduled 2 more trips. So I just think I shouldn't. And I encouraged her to look for some other opportunities to serve in Creswell. So we have 3 applicants tonight. They are Christina Allen, Clark Kent, and Kevin Prochu. And so at this point, we're going to have our 3 candidates, and Manager Emmer will take you next door. And Christina, you may remain because we're going to do the interviews in alphabetical order. So Christina will go first. What we will do at this point is ask each of the candidates 5 questions that were approved by our city attorney. Then the candidates will rotate until we've had all 3 candidates come in and be interviewed. Then we will do the appointment later on in the meeting when we come to the council action items under item 7. So Christina. Welcome to the Creswell City Council.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for applying.
Thank
for
you
this
for
position.
accepting my offer to do the job. I'm nervous, sorry.
It's okay. If we were in your seat right there, we'd all be nervous too.
Okay.
So we're going to start with Councillor Clark, and then Councillor Holt, and then Council President Castillo, and then Councillor Smith, and then Councillor Osborne. And each councillor will ask you 1 question,
Okay.
and just take your time and respond to the question.
Okay.
Okay? So, Councillor Clark.
Hi.
Hi.
We're a safe group of folks, so you're gonna do great.
Okay.
And so, hello, my name is Shelley Clark, and I'm a current city councilor. And I was wondering, can you tell us, how did you become interested in serving on the Creswell City Council?
Okay. Well, I became interested in serving on the council for the city of Creswell for the purpose of being a positive influence for the people of Creswell. I want to succeed in hopes of showing not only others but for myself and for the good of the city that I can do the job well. I have lived in this town all my life, and so for that I think that is why I would be the best choice for this position.
Hi, thank you for that. I'm Stacy. Nice
Hi,
to meet
Stacy.
you.
Nice to meet you too.
What do you believe are the greatest needs for Creswell? And if you have a list, please feel free to share it.
Okay. Hold on, I gotta put my glasses on. Okay, so I feel that the greatest needs for Creswell are the following. 1, more options be available for our youth of Creswell. I feel that if they had something to do or somewhere to go, that maybe it might cut down on the vandalism going around. I know I like to spray paint all over in the bathrooms. I also think maybe we could have an event like a community, get to know your community night or something like that. I feel that if people got out there and was willing to actually get to know the public for who they actually really are, that it may cut down on the animosity among people. Number 3, I feel there should be a curfew set for children 16 and under. Reason for that is because I see young children wandering around by themselves in the streets at weird hours at night, and it scares me due to the abductions and the human trafficking that we hear on the news so much lately. I mean, we need to take a little bit extra care in making sure that doesn't happen to our. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you for, Christina, for applying for the appointment.
Thank you.
My question to you is, there are 3 standing committees that city councilors serve on. Public safety, transportation, and public works, and administration and finance. Which of these committees would you be most interested in serving on, and why?
Okay. I feel that out of the 3 committees to choose from, public safety would be the choice best suited for me. I do a lot of walking around all over the place, and I've noticed certain things I wish would or wouldn't be the way they are or aren't. I would like the opportunity to be a part of a better, safer Creswell. I relate to the homeless. They talk with me. They share things with me that they might not necessarily share with others. I feel I'd be a good aspect in that in that area. Also, I think there should be more 25-mile-an-hour speed limit signs more visible in the residential living areas. Because there's people street racing at like 1 or 2 in the morning up and down this road, and that's been going on for like the past 3 weeks. It's kind of scary. I feel that something should be done about the crosswalk signs by the Dairy Mart and the 76 gas station, as well as between the dollar store and the 76 gas station. I've heard from quite a few people, myself being one of them, of incidences where they were walking across the street when the walk sign said walk, and a car that was turning from the turn lane almost hits them. I myself has had that happen to me a total of 17 times now. One of those times, my dog almost got hit, and if it wasn't for my quick actions and my quick reflexes, that's exactly what would have happened, is my dog would have got hit by that car. That's really scary. It's just happening way too much. I was nervous, so that's all I came up with, but, so,
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
yep.
Hi, Christina, I'm Nick.
Hi, Nick.
You're doing a great job.
Thanks.
Don't stress out too much.
Okay, thank you.
My question's fairly an easy one, but how will you work together with other city councilors?
Okay, I feel that in order to maintain a good work relationship with fellow council persons, one should listen to what the other has to say. And if at any time something comes up that you or I don't understand, then we should ask and have it explained in a way that we can understand. I, for one, am looking forward to being able to experience something new, which in turn will give me that experience and knowledge to better grow, both with knowledge as well as a better understanding of how things really work.
Very good.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Norma Jean.
Hi.
My question is, the city council meets twice each month. Prior to the meeting, councilors receive a packet with materials to be covered in the meeting. These packets are often 50 to 200 pages in length. How do you prepare for these council meetings?
How will I prepare for the city council meetings? Well, first off, I would look over the material given in order to know what the topic was. Then I would calculate the number of days I had to complete that material by the number of pages that were in the packet. And I would go through and complete the job gradually. That way I'll be able to retain and absorb the information more efficiently and with more accurate conclusions.
Thank you.
Very good. So, Christina, is there anything else that you would like to share with the council?
Probably, but I'm so nervous I can't think of anything right now.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough. Thank you. You
Thank
did a
you.
great job.
Thank you for your time. Watch your steps.
Good evening, Clark.
Good evening, esteemed council members, the Honorable Mayor Stram. I appreciate this opportunity to interview with all of you.
Good. So this time we're going to go in reverse order. We're going to start with Councilor Osborne and come back this direction. So if each councilor will ask you one question and just be relaxed as much as you can and respond.
I will try. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hi, like he said, I'm Norma Jean Osborne. How did you become interested in serving on the Creswell City Council?
That goes back a long way. I'm in my 26th year of working at the Eugene Public Library, and for about the first 20 years I was on the reference desk helping people. And with all sorts of things, job interviews, finding material for test taking, finding relevant city code information, Oregon revised statutes, US code information, all sorts of stuff. And I really loved helping people. And the last about 6 years I've been working as an IT person, systems administrator for the catalog there. But about 6 years ago also, I moved to Creswell, and counselor at the time, Prachu, invited me to apply to be on the budget committee as a citizen member. And I really enjoyed doing that, and I really enjoyed the company and dedication of the council members here, the elected council, and the mayors that we've had during the 5 years and counting so far. So I thought, you know what, I can use my natural desire to help people, my knowledge of various resources and data-driven information to do what I can to help the citizens of Creswell in a position like this. Thank you.
Hi, Nick. How do you believe what do you believe are the greatest needs in Creswell? Please share your list if you have one.
Okay, I have a list in my head, which I will share. I'd be glad to email everybody as well if you'd like. I understand now why government uses acronyms all the time, because it makes things easier to remember. My acronym is LEASH, which is with an I, L-E-I-S-H. There's a lot of overlap between the different pieces of that. The L stands for livability, like parks, recreation, a lot of the stuff that I know Councilor Osborne is interested in, and just making this a great place. The movies in the park, the Christmas trees every year, all that stuff helps with the livability. The E stands for economic development. I would like Creswell to be a place where low-income residents can continue to live. They won't have to move to another place. That we would have businesses here that would employ our local populace, maybe small businesses here in the community, like hot shots, and that we can generate and circulate money in this community. So that's the E. The I stands for infrastructure, keeping our roads repaired, all that sort of stuff. I'm going to jump to the S's, which is security and safety. It's a double S. And that takes a number of different things. There's obviously the sheriff. We need to have safety. We need to have obeyance of laws. And we need to make sure that families are safe and don't feel like they're going to be threatened. Safety also has to do with having safe water supply. Safety also has to do with being prepared for whenever the big one hits, which maybe this year, maybe next year, maybe 50 years from now. But it's overdue, and I believe there's like a 37% chance of it happening in the next 50 years, according to scientists. So that's a big enough thing. That's a 1 or 2 on a 6-sided die if you're a game player. So, and then the last letter is H, and H stands for housing. We need more family housing here in Creswell. That is my list. Thank you for being receptive to that with me.
Okay, question number 3. Thank you, Clark, for applying for this appointment. How will you work together with other city councilors?
Well, I plan to, if I get this position, I plan to learn a lot. I know there are some people here who I already know. I think I know most of you already, actually, and respect all of you. Councilor Holt, I love the questions that you ask. So I want to be able to, phrase things and get to the heart of issues like you do. Councilor Clark, we're neighbors and friends outside of the place. So, Alonso I see on the bus. So I know people here. I intend to learn a lot and share information that I have and advocate for the best for the residents of the community in a respectful manner with everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you already know the 3 standing committees, but for the sake of doing this correctly, I'll read the question. There are 3 standing committees that city councilors serve on: public safety, transportation and public works, and administration and finance. Which of these committees would you be most interested in serving on, and why?
This was the hardest question. I feel like I've got a lot of passion for public safety and all of those elements, just from my past, feeling a real strong need for safety and security and a real understanding for that. But then I've also done a lot of work on the budget committee, and I have a huge respect for Mr. Piper. And I would love to be able to work with him. But I think I'm going to pick transportation and public works just because I know Councilor Clark and Councilor Holt are on it, and they need somebody to replace Councilor Shuck.
Okay.
All right, and hello. I know that we know each other, but hello, my name is Shelley Clark. So the city council meets twice each month. Prior to the meeting, councilors receive a packet with materials to be covered in the meeting. These packets are often between 50 to 200 pages in length. How will you prepare for council meetings?
I will thoroughly and painstakingly read them from start to finish, every word. A habit I picked up with the budget committee and the materials in there was to, just look at everything down to, periods and break out the calculator with the columns and all that. I love to read. If I'm interested in it, it doesn't bore me. I read everything from old translations of old literature back, various, like the meditations of Marcus Aurelius. I read different translations, and some of those can be really dry. I'm an IT person. I read books about PowerShell and SQL and devour those. So despite how dry or seemingly boring something could be perceived, it's not if you're interested in it. And I would be interested in it because it affects all of us here in Creswell. So I would need to know that. I need to be well-grounded in everything and able to, so that way I could advocate for our citizens here.
Thank you, Clark. So finally, is there anything else you would like to share with the council?
I'm really happy to be here. I don't know if I'll be picked this time. I will keep applying for stuff though. So one of these days I hope to be working with all of you as currently consisted and as it may develop over time. So I know you've got good candidates this time around. So I'm excited to find out who the best choice will be, and it could be me. And if it is, I promise everybody that I will do my best. And if it's not me, I will throw 100% support behind that person because I love this city. I love that it's a friendly city, and let's keep it that way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, everybody in the audience.
You may remain. You can just go ahead and have your seat. Good evening, Kevin. Thank you for applying for this position.
Good evening. Thank you.
All right.
Justice here, so make sure you guys can hear me.
Very good. So we'll have 5 questions we'll ask you, and just be relaxed and give us your best answers. So we'll start again with Councillor Clark.
Well, hello, I know that we know each other, but hello, my name is Shelley Clark. And my question for you is, how did you become interested in serving on Creswell City Council?
All right. Thank you for your question, Shelley. I'm actually going to take a few moments just to give a little opening remark, if that's all right, and then I will, I promise, get on to answering your question for you. So, Mayor and Council, it is a pleasure to be here tonight and to see you and to address the Council. I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to speak amongst this fine group of people who have dedicated themselves to volunteering for this service and their time and their energy serving the people of Creswell. I also want to thank the candidates. I know it takes a lot to put yourselves out there and to come up here and speak in front of a group of people. Even though I've sat behind the dais for a number of years, still a little nervous getting up here. I'm usually not on this side of things, and so I know what that's like, and I can appreciate that. So each candidate here, I think, really brings a unique experience and perspective that gives them some really distinct insights and qualifications that would serve the council well. All of them are really fine choices in their own unique and special way. So, and while I have the opportunity to do so, I just wanted to express some gratitude to the council. It's been about a year now since I vacated my seat. And I remember that when I left, I implored and hoped that you guys would continue to ask that one special question that I always ask during our presentation from our LCSO sergeant. That being the question of if there's been any changes to our transient or homeless population. I always felt that was an important question just so that we could track trends and understand how things were going in our community in that regard. And without fail, every council meeting, that question has been asked. So I just really do want to say thank you for that. So now to answer the question at hand. My interest in serving on the council is to, again, be part of the community conversation, to continue as a servant and to advocate for the public interest, to be a voice, bring my experience serving in the public space for the last 22, 23 years now, and to follow through on the work that we established when we created our strategic plan. That was something that I, along with other counselors, staff, and public, worked and put our names to, and I would love to continue to help ensure that we're meeting our targets there. So those are my 3 main reasons for wanting to serve on the council again.
Thank you. What do you believe are the greatest needs in Creswell? And if you have a list, please share it now.
I do have a list.
I had a feeling.
Well, fortunately, that strategic plan kind of helps guide a lot of that discussion, and it's also how we set our city manager's goals each year. And so I would say that the number one thing, at least at the top of my list, is affordable housing and housing, senior housing in particular, I think is number one. Funding our sewer infrastructure needs to satisfy the DEQ requirements is probably the next in line, because we want to be able to lift that moratorium and be able to build again, especially, here on the west side. Sorry about that. That's also going to, as we grow, I know that there will be an expansion, a need to expand our urban growth boundary and to accommodate that future growth. And fourthly, the economic development and finding ways to make Creswell a desirable place to work and do business in terms of things like, for instance, shovel-ready, buildable lots, strong building codes, which I know that we've worked hard in the last few years to improve on. So I think those are very important. And then growing in a way that fulfills our vision and our mission, which essentially is most important, retaining that small town atmosphere that we all hold so very dearly here in Creswell.
Okay, I'm on 3 this time.
Number 3.
Okay, thank you, Kevin, for applying for this council appointment. My question to you is this: how will you work together with other city councilors?
Well, I think it all has to do with engaging in meaningful and respectful dialogue through open and transparent communication. It's okay to disagree. The importance is in respecting differences of opinion, being a good listener and hearing what others have to say, I believe, is crucial to the process. Finding ways when possible to compromise. It's always not about being right. I should say it's not always about being right or getting your way. It's a very much give and take process. Ongoing collaboration and sharing and discussing ideas and working together towards our common goal, serving the people of Creswell. Engaging with our constituents with the idea of gaining and a diverse and wide range of feedback. Cultivating relationships in and outside of council while being conscious not to inadvertently break meeting laws, of course. And then following the protocol. We have a set of rules, council rules and guidelines, and of course the Robert's Rules of Order. And lastly, just keep working on myself to be the best that I can be, always growing, always learning.
Hi, Kevin, Nick. Thanks for replying again. Coming back. You know the standing committees, but as Stacy said earlier, there are 3 standing committees that the City Council will serve on: Public Safety, Transportation, and Public Works, and Administration and Finance. Which of these committees would you be most interested in serving on and why?
All right, well, I believe I've actually served on all of those committees at one time or another. I'd almost forgotten about Administration and Finance, so I don't think I listed that on my application, but then I thought about it. It's like, oh yeah, I think I did a brief stint on that one as well. So they all appeal to me in some fashion or another. I know that I can do them. I think Administration and Finance is probably the easiest one, but it's also because it doesn't meet quite as often, I think, as the other committees go. So I'm not necessarily looking for easy, though. That being said, I think that Public Safety is the committee that I've really enjoyed working on the most. And I think that's something that I could really sink my teeth into with my previous experience and such. I'd be interested in that because I know that we've talked about doing things like tabletop exercises and other types of things that could strengthen our posture in case of a natural disaster. So I think that's probably one of our bigger needs right now. I think the Public Safety Committee would be somewhat involved in that one. And then also continuing to build out our Emergency Operations Center at the airport.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Norma Jean Osborne. The City Council meets twice each month. Prior to the meeting, councilors receive a packet with materials to be covered in the meeting. These packets are 50 to 200 pages in length. How will you prepare for the council meetings?
Well, I would consider 50 pages a walk in the park, actually. I've seen the 200-page ones, and I think even more before. So yeah, I mean, ideally, I'd want to start working on that as soon as those packets came out. I think they usually come out on Wednesdays, sometimes Thursdays now. Probably realistically, wouldn't be able to dig into those myself until the weekend, after the work week is done. But I probably wouldn't be the first counselor to admit that I've been caught reading at least some of my packet the night of the meeting. I would not usually want to do that, but sometimes it works out that way. I've never come to a meeting unprepared. I've always read my packet before the meeting. Sometimes I utilize the voice readers that are built inside the web browser, so I don't know if you've ever tried that, but it's actually kind of a neat little trick. If you have to multitask, you're cooking dinner or something like that, you can actually have it read stuff to you. It's not always ideal, especially because the monotone voice, is not always cool, but it'll do it at pitch. Preparation sometimes involves looking back on previous meetings, their minutes, YouTube videos and such, just to get clarification. It's like, what did that person say, or what did I say? I don't remember. You can go back and look at those things. That's another way to prepare. Preparation also sometimes involves doing some online research, kind of seeing what other cities, other jurisdictions are doing with the topics that are at hand. Sometimes that consists of talking to other people, residents, businesses, other leaders in the community. And then sometimes I've actually had occasion where I've actually reached out and talked to other people on other councils. So I have the pleasure of knowing councilors in Springfield, Coburg, Cottage Grove, Eugene, and the Lane Board of Commissioners. And so I've reached out to all of them at one time or another to get insights and things like that to help prepare for a meeting. I think that's the last question. Do I have an opportunity for a closing, or?
Yes, my follow-up is the question. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the council?
Okay. So I would. I know that there's one consideration with this important decision that you guys are making tonight, and I can appreciate maybe the slight dilemma that is before you in concerns with my position on the council and having a relative on staff. I just wanted to address that for a second because I know that is probably going to come up. And so before I exit the podium, let me just kind of say some thoughts that I have on that. When you might recall earlier in the year that I actually had applied for and was appointed to the budget committee. And then I decided to step down because my daughter had recently been hired. And so I know that at that point in time, there wasn't a lot of time to really consider process and any kind of change in process that we would have to make to accommodate that. So I just thought it would be best just to go ahead and step down at that time, and so that we didn't have to worry about that. There wasn't, like I said, a lot of time to work that out. So you're wondering probably, well, what is he doing back up here again? And that's a fair question, I understand. So Ross, our city attorney, has waited on the past as a possible method for which we might be able to work that out. And I think you may have heard about that. It's basically in the budget process when it comes time to talk about and vote regarding salaries, city staff salaries, that you can extract that from the conversation and from the vote. So there would be a separate vote that would be related to just that. That would be something that I would declare a conflict of interest in, and I would not vote and not be part of that conversation. And then once that's figured out, bring it back together and then vote on the final package. So that's one way that I think would be an excellent way to demonstrate transparency in that regard. And I think that would be something that would work and the public would understand. we kind of got to thinking about it, and there's like, there have been other situations like this where council has had to, or has considered a decision with regards to that would create a conflict of interest where there was a direct financial benefit. So keep in mind, back in the day, for about 7 years ago, there was no such thing as a stipend. Nobody got a stipend, and the council at that time gave thoughtful consideration to the idea that, well, people are using their phones, their printers, things like that, to essentially do the business and the work of the council. And that it might also be kind of a neat way to thank people and kind of show gratitude for their service on the council. Would also even serve as an incentive to either keep people on the council or to recruit new members of the council. So back, I think it was about 6 or 7 years ago, council probably met about 3 or 4 times and discussed the idea of a stipend, and then together voted on that stipend. And so if you've ever received a stipend or cashed it or deposited that check, you can thank that council from that time for discussing that item and voting for that to happen. So when you consider the 2 scenarios that I've just mentioned here, the indirect potential benefit is probably the lesser of those 2 situations. Equally as important, but the lesser of the 2. And I think that ultimately that will, as the process is outlined by Ross, where we can extract that as a separate vote, I think should accomplish the transparency that we're looking for. So anyway, I thought I would throw that out there as a potential. I just anticipate that it would come up in the conversation. So I really want to say that I appreciate everything that you've done, just for your listening to me here tonight and pontificating a little bit. And I just appreciate the great work that's happened on this council. You guys have done a lot of work in the last year since I've been here. The park and camping ordinance was a tough one. The road repair funding was a huge deal. The work from home policy, I think, was a big one that you guys did, and then the reviewing of the city code and kind of patching and looking at the different things related to like dogs, basketball hoops, things like that. All very good work. So regardless of outcome tonight, I respect your decision, and I will always advocate for Creswell, regardless. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Thank you, all 3 of you, for coming, and we will be returning to this later on in the meeting. All right, now we move on to the public forum, and I don't believe we had anyone sign up to speak during the forum. Okay.
Wait a minute.
You signed up for item 7, which is the council appointment.
Oh, I'm sorry, I put it as part of the public forum. I thought I checked that box, but either way.
Did you want to speak now during the public forum, William, or later on when we come to the appointment?
Which way do I get more?
Either way, you probably need 3 minutes.
3 minutes either way? I'll go ahead and go now,
All right.
if you don't mind.
No, that'd be just fine. William, come on up.
Just wanted to make sure I hadn't got lost in the shuffle there. I brought some notes to hopefully stay on track. First of all, my name is Bill Kent, and I live over on Cloverdale. And I'd just like to say, you guys have the toughest job here tonight, because Kevin, if you just save that YouTube clip, perfectly defined what it takes to be on the city council. I mean, he did, he nailed it. And then Clark, my younger brother, with his IT background, a wealth of experience. So, try to decide. But I'd like to congratulate you, because tonight I think the city council could make an historic decision. for Creswell and for small towns in Oregon. 1 year ago, when the Ninth Circuit Court ruled on cities' decisions regarding homeless sleeping on public streets, Creswell, as you remember, held some of its most contentious meetings with testimony from the city lawyer and various citizens about what the response should be. The mayor at that time asked me to look into, see what Medford was doing about the situation. So I looked at it, and Medford had put together advisory teams of a citizen and a police officer who would personally meet with the homeless to best determine what needs they had and vet them for the camping spots they had chosen in Medford and direct them to available services. We both agreed that it sounded good, but he told me that's a big city solution because Creswell had no budget or services. So I then suggested to the council at that time that we, or the council, set up a committee, much like we have Park and Trees, to investigate options and meet with our homeless. Well, we didn't do that either. But homelessness, I contend, is the biggest single issue for Oregon, not just Creswell, but all of Oregon. It affects the race for governor, it affects the race for city councils, and it'll never disappear because we simply can't build our way out of it. The way in which we build houses, we can't build enough. Tonight, you have the opportunity to choose an unpaid council member, none of you get paid, who is eminently qualified to work on this problem and provide you feedback free of charge 7 days a week. It's not like she has other things that are pressing to do. Her interfacing with Alex on a regular basis gives you a pipeline into how your decisions play out on the street. The work group spent many hours crafting a concept that recognizes a key principle from the recent Martin versus City Boise Ninth Circuit Court decision. HB 3115 requires that any city or county law regulating the acts of sitting, lying, sleeping, or keeping form must be objectively reasonable based on the totality of the circumstances as applied to all stakeholders, including persons experiencing homelessness. So, because the Ninth Circuit Court said it had to be reasonable to the homeless, how are you going to know unless you ask the homeless?
Well, you need to wrap it up.
And with that, I'm done. I'm homeless. I'm out of here. Other than to say that Cottage Grove, one of their counselors actually went to one of their homeless camps and spent a couple of nights trying to get that experience. So, good luck with your decision.
Thank you very much. Okay, on to the mayor's report. I just wanted to say two thank yous tonight. First, a thank you to our Chamber of Commerce, who put on a wonderful Winter Lights celebration last Saturday. So thank you to the Chamber of Commerce, and also a thank you to our staff. Michelle, you and Don were out there serving hot apple cider. I got some of that, even though you didn't feel 100%. Thank you. And thank you to Cliff, all your staff, for putting lights up all through the downtown, doing all type of cleanup work. And I just want to say thank you to our staff. We have a number of staff members here tonight for a great 2023. Lots and lots of challenges, lots of hours put in, lots of emails, but you've done a great job. So staff, thank you for a wonderful 2023. All right, we move on to correspondence. We have one letter. So, council members, do you have any questions or comments about the correspondence? Councilor Holt.
I actually am hoping that we can have a discussion about the correspondence that's before us. I don't know if tonight is the appropriate night for that, but I have some concerns about some things that are called out in this correspondence and concerns about whether or not this body should be concerned about ethics reporting.
Well, we don't usually have discussion of correspondence. We make comments on correspondence.
Okay.
And you can always request that this come to the work session in January or ask for an administrative report in January.
I think that we should push this to the work session, but I think that my questions surrounding ethics should be answered before that, so I can reach out to staff.
Why don't you reach out to staff, and then if you just send an email to Manager Amber and I requesting that it be on the work session for discussion?
For January, okay.
Yes. Okay, any other comments on correspondence? All right, we move on to the consent calendar. In the consent calendar, all items are considered routine and are enacted by a single motion unless the councilor wishes to pull anything for the purpose of correcting it. Is there anything in the consent calendar that needs to be corrected? If not, then I'm entertaining a motion to accept the consent calendar as presented. Is there a motion on the floor? Councilor Clark?
I move to accept the consent calendar as presented.
Have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilor Castillo. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. We move to item number 6, the administrative report, Manager Amberg.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item on there is the November bills. I'll do my best to answer any questions you might have on the November bills at this time.
Councilor Smith.
My question is, what is Business Oregon and what do they do for us?
Business Oregon is a state department, and they are in charge of assisting the entire state with various activities that would draw in businesses to Oregon. We have used them for grants. We have used them for technical assistance. We meet with them. They refer people to us. It is an economic development wing of the state.
Any other questions? So my question would be, Manager Amber, the 2 bills from Business Oregon, is that what you were referring to, Councilor Smith?
Yes, sir.
I was under the impression that those were loans that we were paying back.
I need to find them.
It's on the first page, I think. The first one is $226,122. The second one is $154,992. Just my first impression was that those were water or sewer loans.
Yeah, they
But I
very
do
well
not know for sure.
could be. The only one I see is the Lane County Sheriff's on the first one.
Oh, this is dated 11/15 to 11/16.
Okay, 11/15 to 11/16.
There are 2 line items, one after another.
It's the third page.
And date is specifically 11/20, 11/16, check date. 11.
Looks like Jim has an answer for you.
Thank you, if I may address the council. Yeah, that's Business Oregon. Part of their organization is infrastructure finance, and this is our water debt service payments for the water treatment plant. There was 2 loans through the IFA, through Business Oregon, and this is our annual debt service payment we make to them.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. On the same page, Northwest Community Builders, $217,659.
All right, this is the contractor that's working on the sewer system at the airport.
Oh,
So they're
okay.
making good progress on that project.
Wonderful. All right, any other questions for Manager Amber on the bills?
A quick one.
Yes, Councilor Smith.
On the Business Oregon, is that, do we pay them for that kind of service? Since if those 2 payments we paid were a loan, do we pay them any kind of like a monthly service? Or is it just they're doing a nice deed for the state of Oregon?
No, actually, they have what's called a revolving loan fund, And they are low-interest loans, so they're below market, and they make it available for cities and counties throughout Oregon. And we applied to those programs and we received the loans, and these are the loans payment, the loan payback. There is no other sort of, there's no membership, there's nothing like that that's required.
So it's taxpayer money, basically.
Well, these are paid by ratepayer money, so this is sewer rates.
And I think these are the original loans we took out many years ago.
Right.
And we're getting really close to paying somebody off.
Yeah, we're very close.
Very close.
Mhm. But as soon as they get paid off, we're going to need to go out for additional loans to upgrade the system. And we're hoping, though, that some of that will be offset by the fact that we won't have these loans to pay back, so we won't have to raise rates as much for the new loan. But they're low interest loans. They're like 1 or 2% loans. They're really a good deal.
I have Is the Oregon Fence Company 9,950, is that, I'm assuming that's the fence for the Second Street part?
I'm assuming that's correct. I think Cliff is saying yes.
That's correct. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're good.
Okay. The next one is the Lane County Sheriff's Calls for Service Report, and Sergeant Speldridge is here to answer any questions you might have on our policing.
Good evening, everyone. So if you look at our calls for service, you'll see that they're down from last month, which tends to happen during the winter months as it starts to rain a little more. Looking at the trends over the years, with me only being down here about 10 months now, I had to look back a couple years to see if that's normal for it to dip, and it does. So that's the good news there. You'll see that we did have two Measure 11 crimes reported this last month. One of them was an assault with a weapon where someone was arrested, and that was sent to the DA's office for consideration. The other one was a very small arson type case that occurred at the high school. It's categorized as Measure 11 because that would be the applicable crime had the building caught on fire, but it was more like a trash fire than anything. So other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions anyone may have about the calls.
Councilor Castillo.
What hour of the day was the fire at the school?
It was during school hours.
During school hours?
Yes, it was about 8 o'clock in the morning, right before the actual classes started.
Thank you.
Councilor Clark.
I have two questions for you. Thank you for asking the question that you probably thought that I was going to already ask about the Measure 11 crimes. So my two questions are, one, has there been any change in our unhoused population? And then the second question that I have has to do with speed citations. And so I think one of the things that we heard tonight is that there's been some speeding. So I just wanted to check in on that as well.
All right, I'll start with the first question. It's still consistent, around the same number. We haven't had any major influx or outflux of our homeless population. We do have 2 or 3 new people to the area that the sheriff's office is starting to become acquainted with. And then we also have one of our longtime homeless residents has been sitting in jail for a while. So you may not see that person walking around as often. With regards to the speed citations, I can tell you, I personally wrote all 3 speed citations this month. And they're the same consistent areas that we've heard about. Highway 99, especially as it comes in and out of town, is where we're seeing a lot of speed. I've been trying to keep track of when people complain about certain areas about speed so that I can try to set up in those areas, have my deputy set up in those areas. But that's really where most of the speed is consistently happening, is 99 in and out of town.
Councilor Holt.
On the Measure 11 crime that you referred to the DA's office for consideration, do you have any insight into whether or not they're going to consider it?
I don't know if they're going to prosecute the case. We did make an arrest in that case, and it was forwarded to them to decide if they want to prosecute the case. This particular case is a difficult case. There's a lot of conflicting information in it without going into too much detail.
I understand.
So ultimately, down the road, I'm not sure what they're going to do with it. I do have one thing to add that I forgot to mention. The entire Lane County Sheriff's Office, all of our deputies went through, we have quarterly tactical shoots where we practice certain skills. And this last tactical shoot we all went through had to do with active shooter situations and tactics in those. So we received some pretty cool new techniques that we're hopefully never have to employ, but our entire agency has learned those.
Very good. Well, we're going to have that training early next year, so you can share some of those ideas with us.
Excited for it.
Okay. Any other questions for our sergeant? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next you have the city attorney's report. That's pretty straightforward. You have the November code enforcement report. And then the building permit recap report. If you have any questions on that. If not, that concludes the administrative reports for this evening.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we move on to council action items. And I just wanted to, as we're entering into our action items, we could have a good deal of discussion tonight. And so I wanted to read this little section. We talked about this earlier in the year, but I thought it's a good reminder to all of us as we enter into our discussion time with the council. This is from our Mastering Council Meetings book. This is page 14. It's always a good reminder for me. It is essential that City Council follow the most neglected rule in all of Robert's rules. The rule that no one may speak twice until everyone has had a chance to speak once. This includes the Honorable Mayor. And they put an exclamation point after that, I don't know. By giving everyone a chance in turn, all voices are heard. The extroverts and old-timers are not allowed to dominate the discussion, and a better decision can be made for the good of the city. So just kind of a reminder as we go into this, one of my goals is to make sure that every council member has the opportunity to speak as we conduct our business. So our first item tonight is council appointment. We talked about this at our council meeting at our work session. And first of all, reading from our city charter, this is Chapter 7 Elections, Section 32, Filling Vacancies. A council vacancy will be filled by appointment by a majority of the remaining council members. We consulted with our attorney, and he said, under Section 32, I believe a vacancy on council is filled by a majority vote of the remaining council members. So that's how we are proceeding tonight. There are 6 councilors. It will take 4 votes to elect a new councilor. And here's the process we talked about a couple of weeks ago. I confirmed it with Council President Alonzo Castillo today. First, as a council, I will open up the floor for nominations. We have 3 candidates. So you may nominate a candidate. Then once we have candidates that have been nominated, then I will open up the floor for discussion, where you will advocate for the one you voted for. We'll discuss the nominees. Then we will vote in order of those in order of the nominations. Each councilor will get 1 vote. It will take 4 votes to be appointed. If after the first round of voting, no one gets 4 votes, then we'll begin the process again by nominating once again. And then once we've nominated, if we go a second time, then the new nominees will be invited up to the podium and have 1 minute to tell us why you should select me. Then again, we will have time for council discussion of the nominees. We will vote again. If we don't reach 4 votes, we'll repeat the process until we have 4 votes and we've selected a new councillor, at which point then I will announce the appointment. All right? So, we begin with council nominees. We have 3 applicants tonight. They are Christina, Allen, Clark Kent, and Kevin Prachu. So the floor is open at this point for councilors to nominate an applicant. Councilor Osborne.
I nominate Kevin Prochu.
We have a nomination for Kevin Prachu. Is there another nomination? Councilor Smith.
I'd like to nominate Christina Allen.
There's no nomination on the floor. Councilor Clark.
I would like to nominate Clark Kent.
Okay. Now the floor is open for councilors to discuss their nominees.
I guess I can go
Councilor
first.
Osborne, go ahead and raise your hand so I can acknowledge each one. Councilor Osborne?
Well, Kevin has had a vast experience working with the city council in the past, and I've admired his work. He's conscientious, hardworking, and cares about our community.
Thank you. Councilor Smith?
I respect everyone that is here tonight to volunteer for this position. Although my nomination does not preclude you guys from in any negative connotation whatsoever, I like the idea, I like a lot that Christina had to say. I like the different vision she has and the different experiences she has that would bring something different to Creswell, and I think would be helpful. And I appreciate all the hard work that you put in on your application, some of the things that you've said and overcome, and I think you deserve a chance to show what you're made of.
Yes.
Councilor Clark?
I'm
I was looking for your hand to go up. Councilor Clark?
Thank you. So sorry for just jumping in there. I actually have 2 candidates that I would like to speak about. I would have nominated the other one, but they were already nominated. And so I guess I'd like to speak just a little bit about the individual that I put a nomination forward to with Clark Kent. I think in the application materials, I was able to see just a clear connection to the community, clear love for the community, clear commitment to serving the community as well. I was impressed with the books that he had purchased and had read and kind of dived into, and I think he spoke to that as well as he was talking about the things that he really likes to read, the things and dive into the materials that he finds interesting. I also was really impressed with one of the things that he shared tonight around kind of working in the Eugene Public Library and in particular working at the reference desk, being able to find answers or find new directions for it to be able to find information. And I thought one of the things that I think we experience a lot are a lot of questions as counselors and how do we best respond to those. And so I was interested and really excited about his ability to understand the process of finding more information and his commitment to doing that. I also was very impressed, and he shared this in his application materials as well, serving on the budget committee for 5 years. I think that really definitely shows a knowledge of city work and how do things operate and how do things get paid and where do we put our values. So I thought that was also very impressive. I also found, as he was talking about his leash, kind of the needs for the community, I thought that was something that was remarkable and rememberable as well in terms of things that he would be interested in working on. And then I also really appreciated that he spoke also about the Cascadia earthquake event. And I think that as someone, as you all know, has a deep love for infrastructure and public works, I thought that really spoke, that spoke to my heart in terms of things that I'm interested in as well. Since I have the floor, I'd also like to speak a little bit about Kevin as a potential nominee as well. I felt that Kevin had a great deal of information to share, and information, perspective, and experience to share as well. Having served on the council for 7 years previously, having served as council president, I just thought I was very impressed with that. I thought that he had thorough answers to everything that we asked him about. He came prepared with information, so he had information to share beforehand as well as information to kind of wrap up. I thought that, again, someone who loves infrastructure, has a deep respect for infrastructure and public works. I felt that affordable housing, sewer infrastructure needs, urban growth boundary, I felt like his experience really shined through in terms of just his knowledge and experience serving on the council. Also touching on the strategic plan. I also, when we were talking about again, I think that we'll probably talk about more things. I'm gonna wait, but I also really I was impressed with Kevin addressing the potential conflict of interest and what that may serve, and also his ideas for how to navigate that as a counselor. I think that shows just knowledge around public meeting laws and actual or perceived conflicts of interest and what that might mean. And then there was also information in the packet as well in terms of just feedback from our attorney. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, so Councillor Holt, Councillor Castillo, either one of you care to speak about our candidates? Councillor Castillo.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. What a great group of people to select from. I liked all your answers. What a problem to have. And thank you, Kevin, for bringing up the conflict situation and bringing up that transparency issue. In regards to the examples that we received from our city attorney, I do have a couple of questions, or maybe just clarification on the first example that was given. I think it's almost the last page.
Which is Sarah Hansen?
Yes, Sarah Hansen. On almost the very last page, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a section under implementation of reclassification study. Okay, it says here, as in every situation described above, and there was a lot of situations that you talked about, when Commissioner Garrett is met with an actual conflict of interest and his vote is necessary for the board to take official action, he may be eligible to vote, but not to discuss or debate. So it got me to thinking, so in the event of a tie, would that allow our counselor who has a conflict of interest to vote?
That's a good question. I don't know about a tie. Typically, what that means is if you don't have a quorum without the vote of that particular counselor, then that counselor can vote in order to bring a quorum to the question. But I don't know how that applies to a tie.
Okay.
Because a tie is a tie, and a tie is a no vote.
Sure.
Typically, things die with a tie. So I think under this circumstance, what they were thinking about, and I've seen it happen where there's 4 city councilors and there's not enough for a quorum, and one of those city councilors has to vote for there to be a quorum. And then they have even a outright conflict of interest, but they can declare it, and this is the only circumstance in which they can vote because of the quorum issue.
So this example may fall under that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then on the last page of the Philbook example, it says here, if the city council was voting on department budgets and they separate the two, department budgets, employee compensation, etc. The member of a council whose relative was an employee of the city would be met with an actual conflict of interest. We know that, we understand that. When discussing or voting on anything that would financially impact the relative, the public official would declare the nature of their conflict publicly when considering the budget sections that involve their relative and refrain from discussing or voting on that budget section. The public official could then participate in official actions concerning the remainder of the budget that had no financial impact on their relative. So in this example, they're separating department budgets and employee compensation. Does that mean that the department where the relative works, if that is increased, I know that's not a financial, not financially impact her, but they are doing that example, that department.
In some organizations, they're large enough that they do adopt the budget by department. We're not large enough to do that. We adopt the budget by fund. And we could possibly get a ruling if it were a circumstance where Mr. Prochu's daughter worked for the airport, that he not vote on the airport fund. But that's not the case. He's voting on the general fund. She's in the general fund. And we don't take out departments because they would be one-person departments. Additionally, when we do the resolution to adopt the pay scale, we do it for everybody. So we don't do it by departments. We're not big enough.
Sure.
Yeah, but like Eugene might, Grants Pass might, the city of Grants Pass is probably big enough. Some of the larger cities that I've worked for even have done it by department, but
Sure.
we don't.
Well, and I thank you for the information from Attorney Ross. And I think it's good to know what we're getting ourselves into, to have a counselor that has a conflict of interest. I appreciate the transparency, but it could present itself as a problem. Because the budget is the most important thing that we vote on as a counselor. So anyway, thank you. That's all I have to say.
Councilor Holt?
I would say that that's my concern as well. Having to create extra processes to get through it is a concern. I want to be, considerate to not only our time, but also staff's time. And also I'm thinking in terms of other things, like we recently just adopted a work from home policy. I would think that on those types of administrative policies as well, there might be a conflict. Yes.
I think the state law is pretty clear that it has to be pecuniary. So there has to be actually a money issue addressed with it.
Okay.
In order for it to be an actual or a...
That's fair. I think that's a fair statement. And it's you're probably 100% correct. I guess for me, it just wouldn't feel right. So.
All right, I'll comment last, and then any councilors who wish to make any additional comments, you'll be given that opportunity. So, again, I appreciate all of our candidates. And the fourth one who didn't apply, I encouraged her. I said, this next year there are other positions available for service in Creswell. And a year from now, there will be 3 council positions and a mayor's position all up for election. And I hope next year we have all of you and more candidates vying for this position. I like Kevin's application because we're appointing somebody to a 1-year position, a position that was elected. So I bear in mind that Kevin ran for office several years ago and was elected by the people of Creswell. So to me, that's a plus. He's been affirmed by the people of Creswell. They wanted him to serve before on the council. When he was on the council, that council elected him, I believe, 2 years in a row to be council president. So he has served in those roles. I also like his application because I think with 1 year to go, we need someone who can step right in and be right up to speed. I don't doubt that our other candidates will get up to speed very quickly as well, but Kevin brings that added plus, I think. In reading over what Ross said and thinking about it, I noted that Ross says it doesn't create an ethical issue, there's not an nepotism issue, but there is the question of the budget. And he says it could end up being. So I noted that word could. And then as I read over the examples given, what I noted was in the first example given of Yuri Yuka on the second page, they talk about in the judgment that was given from the Government Ethics Commission, the last paragraph says, the last sentence, also not considered here is the possible existence of a class exception to the conflicts of interest analysis. And then as I read the one on Sarah Hansen, I noted again, this came out a number of times. Page 3 talked about halfway down, an exception exists to the conflict of interest that may apply in this case. Pertinent here if the financial impact of an official action would affect to the same degree a class consisting of an industry, occupation, or other group. And it mentions that several times. At the very bottom paragraph says, this opinion makes no determination that a smaller group of employees within the bargaining unit would be considered a class. So the question I had was, we have 20 employees, but when we adopt the budget, we don't adopt anybody's individual salary. It's all a class. It's all one class of employees, and it's a COLA, and that COLA is applied equally to everyone in the class. So to me, that was a question that I don't really know the answer to. Go ahead, Manager Amber.
I'm having a little bit of curiosity about the term class. When I've asked these questions before in the past, the term class was used to allow counselors to vote on things like water rates and sewer rates. So it's a class of people, it's a large group of people that they may be part of. When you talk about our employees, I'm not sure that they're a class, and I'm not sure they're one class, because we have exempt and we have non-exempt. So now you're starting to get in, we do not have representative employees because we do not have a union, but we do have different classes of employees. So I would want to get a ruling from Ross about that issue before we got too far down on assuming that everybody's the same. Plus you have a contract employee and you have non-contract employees. So it's not as straightforward. I'm just curious as to whether it's as straightforward as it sounds.
Well, I'm not wanting to say it's straightforward. What this brought up to me was the question, which I don't have an answer for, and I don't expect to get an answer before we make a decision. But the reason I bring it up is the budget is decided in May and then in June. And while I agree the budget is one of, if not the biggest single action items we have an entire year, we have 12 months of action that we need to take. We have 5 months before we get there. And the reason that I'm favorable to Kevin is overall, the amount of work that we do, you know the amount of work committees do, and that for a one-year appointment, I think Kevin would be right up to speed and jump in and we'd be blessed for his labors. We would have to answer this question. We would have to get an answer. And it could definitely impact our budgeting process. I agree with that. So that's my statement. Counselors, are there other counselors who would like to weigh in on the candidates before we proceed to vote? Councilor Castilla.
I would just say, in the first example, I understood class because they were using the example of the union negotiations as those class, because I'm part of the union and the contract, and those divided out as people, because everybody works in a different class.
It has very specific application in a union shop.
Yes.
We are not a union shop.
That's it.
Councilor Clark.
I skipped over this before. I also just wanted to reiterate that we have a wonderfully difficult decision and that we have some fantastic candidates. And I do hope that I hope that all of our candidates choose to continue to stay involved and to continue to be invested in our community. I think that you all have wonderful gifts and perspective to be able to give, and so I do hope that whatever decision is made here, right, that you are all still connected to city operations. As I reflect on the conflict of interest or the potential conflict of interest question, I'm just reflecting on the fact that as city council, we have 3 employees, right? So our city manager, our city attorney, and our municipal judge. And we are not supervisors of or salary decision makers as it relates to other city staff or city yeah, and so that's something that I wanted to bring out or to talk about, with the exception of making a decision specifically as it relates to kind of the overall budget package and here are the employees that we have. So we don't make decisions specifically on each city staff salary. That's it.
Manager Hamburg.
I'd just like to refine that a little. When the budget is passed, generally there's a recommendation regarding a COLA, and that is individual.
Okay, we will proceed then at this point to vote. And Kevin Proctor was nominated first, and then Christina Allen, and then Clark Kent. So we'll vote one at a time. Each counselor gets 1 vote. It takes 4 to make an appointment. If we don't get the 4, we will repeat the process again. So all those in favor of Kevin Prachu, please raise their hand. 3 votes. All those in favor of Christina Allen, please raise their hand. 3 votes. That means that we'll have no vote for Clark Kent, since we've all voted. So now we will proceed to round 2. So first of all, we will take nominations. Then we will give Christina and Kevin an opportunity to come to the podium and take 1 minute, tell us why you should appoint me. Then we will have further discussion as a council and vote again. So the floor is open for nominations for vacant council position. Councillor Osborne.
I nominate Kevin Prachu.
We have a nomination for Kevin Prachu. Councillor Smith.
I'll nominate Christina Allen again.
All right, we have 2 nominations. So now we'll have the nominations in order. So Kevin, if you'll come up first, and Alonzo, if you'll run the little clock, you'll have 1 minute to tell us why you should select me.
Well, thank you again, Council. I really appreciate the gravity of the situation and the vote that you're doing tonight. I think that it's clear that one of the main reasons that I would be an excellent choice tonight would be simply for the fact of my years of public experience both on this council and also in former roles working for the city of Eugene for 20 years and also for the state of Oregon at the Department of Consumer and Business Services. So I basically have an idea of how government works and how it should function, and also have the relationships with other people, including residents, businesses, business owners, I should say, other as I mentioned in my previous dissertation, if you will, the connections that I have and the relationships with other councilors and other municipalities and such. So I think that is what uniquely qualifies me for this experience here. And I also think that with regards to the conflict of interest, that somewhere down the line, whether it's tonight or in the future, that problem will need to be solved. This is a small town. This is going to happen again.
Thank you. Christina.
again. I feel that I would be the best for the job. I might not have as much experience as you guys, but I'm a fast learner. I really want this. It means a lot to me because that way it will give me something to do. I will get self-worth. I will get an opportunity to be able to earn experience in order to maybe further, better myself and maybe open up better opportunities for me in the future, I mean, I can't start unless, someone out there gives me a shot, and I just really, really, really hope that you guys are the one. I can bring a lot to you guys and to this community. I mean, I unfortunately am right now homeless, but I hope not to be that way very much longer, I hope. But I relate to them. Unfortunately, I've been on and off the streets for way too long. I'm tired of it, really, to be honest with you. But I just thank you for, giving me the time. And even if I don't get it, at least I was able to come up here and at least take a shot. So, thank you.
Thank you, Christina. All right, council, the floor is open for discussion, comments about our two applicants. Councilor Holt.
I would just like to commend Christina for being very brave. She has come in here tonight and shown her vulnerable side to us, and I am determined to give her a chance. So I hope that others will join me.
Councilor Castillo.
I would just say that, as we were just discussing a tie issue during the budget committee, when it's time for vote, here we're experiencing a little tie issue right now. So the budget committee, if that were to happen, very unlikely, would be a tie. It was just going to be the same dilemma, but a much grander problem.
Manager Amber.
Actually, I believe a tie would be a negative vote for the budget, and the budget would not be approved. So typically a tie goes to a no vote. This you have a tie because you actually have to have a winner. So this is a little bit different. It's not a motion and a second and then a vote, which would be what the process would be for a budget. And if you had a tie on a budget, the budget would fail.
And that wouldn't be a problem?
It would be a big problem for me. It would be a huge problem. And we'd have to fix it, yeah. But it would result in a result.
Councilor Clark.
I'd like to agree with what Councilor Holt had shared about just being thankful for everyone to share their vulnerable side and being able to talk about possibilities and opportunities for the community. I think that is amazing. And again, whatever we decide tonight, I hope that anyone who is not selected to serve as counselor, that we find space for them to continue to be involved and continue to grow within our community as well. When we took our initial vote, I think that you probably got from what it is that I spoke on, that I was really kind of torn between two different candidates, and I know I won't speak anymore about candidate Kent. But I do want to speak a little bit more about Kevin and what it is that he shared with us tonight. And so what I saw from Kevin was the ability to really focus in on the strategic plan and the work that we did previously, just when I say previously, just last year or a year and a half ago, around thinking about the vision for our community and thinking about how we wanted to implement that vision. And that was certainly referenced tonight, and I think was really clear in all of the pieces that he spoke about in terms of his initiatives and what his to-do list was for our community. I was also I was reflecting a lot as well on affordable housing and that need for senior housing community, that need that we need to get to work on our sewer and our infrastructure needs. Again, expanding that urban growth boundary, thinking about economic development and what that would mean for our community. Certainly none of those are easy tasks to unravel, and I believe that we would be benefited by an individual that has knowledge of the history of what it is that we've experienced, what it is that we've thought through, to be able to move forward with that year appointment. Kevin had tangible reasons or tangible ways that he would work with the council, especially I think working with the council through conflict. I think that we have difficult decisions that we need to make, and I think that he was able to talk about engaging in meaningful and respectful dialogue, finding ways to compromise, thinking about ongoing collaboration, how he would engage with constituents, cultivate relationships, and thinking about our council rules and guidelines. And so that really kind of stood with me. He spoke about the tabletop exercises for our public safety. And again, I think that gives good insight as to how do we make our strategic plan move forward? How do we get things done? And then I think that Kevin also spoke about the potential conflict of interest. I don't think that we have an easy answer to that. I do think that we have time. The conflict of interest or the potential conflict of interest comes in May, where we would have several more months to be able to work with our attorney to be able to determine what does this mean? How do we understand that specifically through the lens of Creswell? So I think, again, from my perspective, as we think about a candidate who is ready to go right now, which is I think what we need for this 1 year vacancy, I speak highly and feel strongly for Kevin. That's it.
Councilor Smith.
I think Kevin has, Mr. Bracci, I don't know you well enough to call you Kevin, so that's okay. You have plenty of experience, and I couldn't say a bad thing about you. And honestly, you'd be an obvious choice. My issue is I don't want to be part of that precedent of this conflict of interest. And for me personally, what I think is best for Creswell, which is what I'm up here to do, that's kind of the stick in my shoe that I can't really get rid of. Christina, you do have a different, Mrs. Allen, I don't know you well enough either, so apologize. You have a different perspective that we've been talking about all this last year, and everybody's, their hearts are on their sleeves, and people want to help, and some do better than others, but ultimately your perspective and that you have and where you come from is different than mine. I can't speak to yours, you can't speak to mine. I think that the city could do well by having that kind of perspective that you have, and everything that you've achieved for yourself personally, and hopefully that your mindset is, you mentioned goals for yourself. The only concern I have, and to be frankly honest, is you really didn't speak about Creswell as much in that last segment when you asked why would you be the best choice.
I was nervous.
And I think you are, and you did a fine job, so really don't beat yourself up. I was in that over there before too, and you did a fine job. Just a reminder of, I am up here and I do have a vote, but ultimately I'm here for the city of Creswell and all the people that, that I talk to. And but you brought up a lot of options about the youth and public safety and crosswalks, and those are all excellent points that you've made, and through your experience, we'd be lucky to have you as well. So.
Thank you.
I will speak then. Has every councilor had a chance to speak? I'll speak and then the floor will remain open. So the Budget Committee has 14 members. So even if Councilor Proctor was not allowed to vote, that would be 13. So, yes, Manager Amber.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but the final vote is the city council vote.
Yes, I'm going to address that.
Okay.
So, now I will only speak from my experience on the Budget Committee, which now has been about 10 years, I think. We've never had, we did have one vote that was 7-6 the very first year. That was over the Cobalt building. Several councilors were adamant we sell the Cobalt building. It was a 7-6 vote. When it came to the council, a month later, the council was unanimous to adopt the budget, which was interesting. So, at the budget level, there would be 13 members still voting, which means it wouldn't be a tie. Unless you were down another member of the Budget Committee and you only had 12, which then it could be a tie. So I'm not as concerned about the budget level. The other point I want to make is I haven't yet seen a budget that was adopted by the Budget Committee that was then rejected by the council. That's always a possibility. And that could be a definite risk. You're correct in that. But I haven't seen that experience in Creswell. So to me, that lessens my concern about not passing a budget. In terms of conflict of interest, it's a pecuniary conflict of interest, and we all have that. We all have the potential at any time that we may have to declare a conflict of interest. Kevin's would be on the budget, and it would be pecuniary. But in terms of conflict of interest in general, our attorneys made very clear that while there always could be ethical conflicts of interest, that's something we have to be attuned to, but he does not rule that out in any measure. My concern has to do with the workload. And while I want to acknowledge, Christine, you've done a wonderful job tonight. You've done a great job managing your emotions, speaking in front of all of us. When we come on the council, we all know that we have a tremendous workload. We meet twice a month. Oftentimes those meetings, especially the first 6 months of the year, can be very, very long. We serve on committees. You all serve on one or maybe two committees. Those committees meet several times a month. We have packets. Those packets, as we've acknowledged, are oftentimes very, very long. So there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into the council preparation. And I know from working with Kevin, he is able to accomplish all that work. I have questions whether Christina will be able to accomplish all that work, and questions about the amount of work and the stamina it takes to do that. So those are my sincere questions. And I feel like our responsibility as a council is to select the very best person we think can fulfill the duties the councilors have. And so I still come down with Kevin as my top pick. All right, the floor is still open. Councilors? Councilor Holt.
Budget or not, my concern is optics. And I would be concerned that community members might have that same concern. They might even wonder if, people are going home at night having conversations about what council's doing and what's going on in the office, and combining that information and creating meetings. And in a sense, I don't know how that works. I'm concerned about optics. And I think that's just, where I stand.
All right, I think we will take, Councilor Osborne.
I still think Kevin is the best person for this job. Yeah, he brings a lot of experience to the table, and he is ready to jump right in and do the work. We have really good candidates. All three of them were really good.
Question?
I do. Procedural.
Oh, procedural question, okay.
Kind of, yeah. Like you were talking about in the event of a tie under normal circumstances, it would be a no. It would result in a no. Does that not apply to when we vote in other situations? like if we tied tonight again, would the natural next step just to say that it was all no and we need to open up applications again?
Well, that's a decision that's left to the council, and Alonzo and I talked about this previously, and we determined we would continue till we got to 4, because we need to make an appointment.
You determine that? Do we get to determine that as a council, or do you get to?
The charter states that it must be a majority vote. The process, and Ross has confirmed this, is really left up to us. We have to get to a majority vote. So Councilor Castillo and I talked about it previously, that we would continue moving the process along until we got to 4 votes. That fulfills the charter requirement, 4 votes. 4 votes makes an appointment.
So our rule about tie votes doesn't apply to this vote?
It applies to motions. We're voting.
Okay.
We're voting on an appointment. All right, I think we will vote another round robin. And we will vote in order that the nominations were made. Kevin Prochu first, then Christina Allen. All those in favor of Kevin Prochu, please raise your hand. All those in favor of Christina Allen, please raise your hand. All right, so we will open the floor once again to nominations. The floor is open for nominations. Councilor Smith.
I'd like to nominate Christina Allen.
All right. Councilor Clark.
I would like to nominate Kevin Prochu.
All right. Floor is open, council, for comments, discussions.
Can I bring Kent back into the
No,
the
we've already,
nominations? Okay,
we have two nominations, two candidates.
all right.
Let's proceed to vote. All those in favor of Kevin Prochu, please raise your hand. All those in favor of Christina Allen, please raise your hand.
Oh my God.
So now I will make the appointment that Christina Allen has been appointed to fill the vacant council seat and will be sworn in January.
Thank you.
Congratulations. All right, council, we will move on to item B. This is a resolution appropriating funds within the street fund. Mr. Piper.
Thank you, Mayor, City Councilors. The item you have before you is an amendment to the budget for the street fund. The estimate that was used in the budget for the work to be done on the storm drain utility fee was not what we expected to come in when we actually got the proposal. The proposal was about $8,600 more than we budgeted. So this motion before you will move money out of general operating contingency, since it wasn't known at the time of the budget, and move it up in the materials and services to do the work. The work's going to consist of creating a storm drain fund, because we've never had one before, and creating a budget for that fund, as well as determining the fee based on the work that was done by our engineers on the storm drain facility master plan.
Okay, Councilor, any questions for Mr. Piper? All right, Council, any discussion of this item? Okay, then I'm entertaining a motion to approve Resolution 2023, a resolution appropriating expenditures within the street fund. Councilor Osborne.
I move that the City Council approve Resolution 2023-22, a resolution appropriating expenditures within the street fund.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilor Smith seconds the motion. Any further discussion? All right, council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise their hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. We move on to item C, which is Curtis Thomas voting on the wetlands study.
Thank you, Council. So in front of you is an ordinance to make amendments to the Creswell Comprehensive Plan, the Creswell Development Code, and adopt the 2011 Local Wetlands Inventory and 2023 Economic, Social, Environmental, Energy Analysis, a wetlands analysis. And so some of the main outcomes of this project are the removal of the hydric soils layer. It was originally put in the code in 2007 as something to be protected, and so all wetlands have hydric soils, but not all hydric soils are wetlands. We live in a river basin. There's hydric soils all over the place, and so that's a more protective code than our state requires us to implement. City Hall, this building is on hydric soils, just to give you an example. And so now our code would just protect all wetlands, and as staff, we know that not all wetlands are created equal. Some are large with animals and critters and fish species, and others are lower lying areas on old farm fields. And the point of the ESCE is to kind of evaluate the wetlands against each other and also compare them to the uses that they could be used for. Development for a city has a lot of advantages, a lot of economic benefit, and if there is a wetland that is next to a road with water and sewer installed, it's very expensive to protect that property. I think one of our jobs is to fund all the city services as best we can. And one of the goals of the plan is to encourage a local mitigation bank. And so when a developer fills the wetland, they have to buy into a system called a mitigation bank. And the closest bank we have is in Eugene. And we thought that it was a great idea to have a local bank. This could be in improvements at Garden Lake Park. This could be improvements where our wastewater has affluence. Could be Cinderella Park, the old dump that's next to the river, kind of to be determined, but we know that we want our mitigation bank local, if possible. And then another outcome is that we'll consider our highest quality wetlands, our ones with those critters not buildable. And then we'll consider the other wetlands, the lower quality wetlands, to be buildable to a 50% degree. And we'll use that to inform our buildable lands inventory. We have an urban growth boundary coming up, and so all this is another piece to the big puzzle of the urban growth boundary amendment. And so I think we've talked about this a couple times now. I'm happy to answer any additional questions. You all were talking about packets being 50 to 200 pages. The local wetlands inventory is a 900-page document. You're welcome. Did not include that in the packet. But we had big intentions for this project. If you fill a wetland, you have to go through a local development code process, which is very typical of any project. And you also have to go through the state's review process, a joint permit with DEQ, the Corps of Engineers and DSL. And we're hoping that our own wetlands analysis, the ESCE, would be able to help streamline the state and federal review process. And we were unsuccessful to do that, but we made a lot of connections and partners along the way. We now have phone numbers and email addresses to every state department that reviews wetlands. So our end product is actually kind of small, despite it kind of being a pretty large project. But to summarize, one ordinance to do all 5 pieces. Amend the comprehensive plan with goals related to wetlands. Amend the development code where wetlands are reviewed, and then adopting the old 900-page local wetlands inventory, and also adopt the ESCE that kind of provides the framework for balancing these wetlands. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor, questions for Curtis?
Yes, Curtis, at the work session, I think a lot of discussion was around the mitigation bank, and that when we started this, like I said, costs to the citizens, by passing this, that doesn't make you said if possible in regards to the mitigation bank, that doesn't automatically mean that there will be a mitigation bank, or does it?
It does not guarantee a mitigation bank.
Okay.
Next step for staff would be to do a feasibility analysis or a fatal flaws analysis to see if it's even possible.
Thank you.
Councillor Holt.
I was going to ask a similar question, but also just remind me, I feel like we landed on that this would be very expensive to our citizens if we did decide to go forward with this. Is that correct?
I think it depends how it's funded.
Always the answer. It could be very expensive to our citizens, depending on how it's funded.
The way that I understand mitigation banks to be funded is that when developers build, that money goes towards the bank. So developers who are filling in wetlands are paying for the bank. And also it would be city staff maintaining the bank or somebody maintaining the bank. So somehow, I'm not sure how it'll work out, but.
Okay,
yeah.
that's right. I forgot about that piece of the developers. Thank you.
Manager Amber?
I just want to make it clear that the developers pay, but it could also become a project that the city may have further involvement in. There have been cities that have taken a mitigation bank and turned it into a wildlife park or a bird sanctuary or something like that. So I don't want to leave you with the impression that there's no cost to the development, but I think that there are alternatives that will certainly come if we want to do an alternative. It would come before the city council for a decision. It wouldn't be something that we would just automatically decide is going to be a wildlife refuge or something like that. But it could be, and that would take funding.
Councillor Holt.
And to your point that we wouldn't be making the decision tonight, like if we were to go forward with this project, it would all come back to us, right?
This is just the approval of the code amendment. It's not a project.
That's what I thought, yeah, okay. It's a lot, this code, this particular one has been.
I know.
Okay.
That was it.
Okay.
I just want to confirm this, we're just kind of changing language to ease Creswell's ability to move forward with this. However, we're not necessarily building a bank or have a developer come in right now to alter anything.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Clark.
This information is in the packet, but I just wanted to confirm my understanding. It sounds like this is a question that went forward to the Planning Commission back in August, and then it was approved unanimously by the Planning Commission. And then since then, you have also received unanimous approval for moving forward in this way, correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so council members, thank you, Curtis. As this is an ordinance adoption, the first question is, council, does any councilor wish that ordinance number 560 be read in full? If not, then I will read it once by title. Ordinance number 560 is an ordinance adopting legislative amendments to the Creswell Comprehensive Land Use Plan, Creswell Development Code, Chapter 2.10, Creswell Development Code, Section 3.4.400, and adopting and implementing the 2011 Creswell Local Wetlands Inventory and 2023 Creswell Economic, Social, Environmental, and Energy Analysis. Now the floor is open for discussion, and then I will entertain a motion. And if it is adopted by a unanimous vote, then it goes into effect in 30 days. If not, it comes back in January for a second vote. So council, the floor is open for discussion. Thank you, Curtis. I'm not seeing discussion. Maybe that's because we covered this twice before in some lengthy meetings. So I'm entertaining a motion on ordinance number 560. Councilor Castillo.
I move that the City Council adopt Ordinance 560, an ordinance amending the Creswell Comprehensive Plan, Creswell Development Code to implement Goal 5 wetland policies and adopting the local wetlands inventory and economic, social, environmental, and energy analysis.
I have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second from Councilor Smith. Any further discussion? All right, council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. And Curtis, thank you. You've done a lot of work on this. And you've done a really good job of appraising the council and making it as understandable as possible without having to read the 900-page document. We all appreciate that.
You did a lot of extra for us, thank you.
You did. Councilor Castilla.
And thank you to the Planning Commission for all their hard work.
Yes, can you please thank the Planning Commission for all their work? Okay. Now we move to item D, Development Moratorium. Manager Hamburg.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, we have a development moratorium in place. It's due to expire. This would extend the moratorium. It's in response to our inability to connect to our wastewater system due to limitations that have been placed on us by DEQ and will remain in such until such time as we upgrade the plant. So this is another 6-month extension, and I anticipate that we'll have several more of these in the future.
Thank you. We begin with a public hearing. The City Council will conduct a public hearing on continuing the moratorium on development. The Council wishes to hear from anyone who is interested in commenting on continuing the moratorium on development pursuant to ORS 197.505 to 197.540 based on limited sanitary sewer capacity as ordered by the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality. Please come forward to the podium and state your name. So, Grace, they need to fill out a form, is that correct? So if you wish to speak during the public hearing on this item, please pick up a form in the back, fill it out, and bring it up to Grace. If not, then we open the floor for 1 minute. You can hustle back and grab a form and fill it out, and we'd be glad to have you speak. Public hearing is now open. Public hearing is now closed. So, City Council, this item is now open for discussion. Councilor Holt.
This is more of a general question. Is this for anything on this side?
Well, we are allotted a certain number of connections, and on the west side. And so anything that goes into the city-owned treatment plant is covered by this moratorium. I believe that our west side connections have all been spoken for by the Butte development. No, we still have some left over?
I just turned in the reporting for smoke testing and repairs. It was allotted an additional 15, so we now have 30.
Okay, so we would have 30, according to Cliff, we'd have 30 allotted slots, but isn't the Butte going to take some of those?
Correct.
How many?
It's a 24 lot subdivision.
Okay.
And they're first come, first served by application of a permit.
Where's that at?
You know where 10th Street is? There's a new development that's going in on the base, the foot of the mountain there. Yeah, that's where it is.
So I keep hearing about McDonald's. Where is McDonald's hooking up to?
Yeah, well, McDonald's is probably not going to fall under this moratorium because it's my understanding, although there's some controversy around it, and based on what I've seen and all the plans I've seen, the China Walk will be torn down and that connection will be used for McDonald's.
Okay. What a shame for small business.
Councillor Osborne.
So we're making progress on the steps we need to move to get past this moratorium then?
Absolutely. Public Works is moving as quickly as it possibly can towards addressing all of the concerns that were in the MAO and the permit that the DEQ created for us. The hang-up will really come at the end when we have to upgrade the plant. That's going to be the hardest part, I think the heaviest lift. But yeah, Cliff and his folks are doing everything they can to move along as quickly as possible and in cooperation with the DEQ.
Thank you.
That's how we have so many now, right?
Hang on, I want to make sure every councillor has a chance to speak.
I was following up on that, sorry.
Okay,
But I'll wait to follow up, thank you.
you're welcome. Other councillors who have a question or wish to make a comment?
I like her.
Just a comment.
Councillor Skia?
I recall during the meeting with Representative Conrad, he kind of made a pitch to help us with funding for that situation. So I just wanted to say to Mr. Harbeck, if elected, we could use some help with this situation. That's it.
Manager Amber.
I just want to assure you that staff has followed up with the state staff. And Jim and Cliff have both worked with the Governor's Regional Solutions team to obtain a technical assistance permit for the work that's going on in the collection system. We would tie that into a request for $25 million from the state for the upgrade to our actual plant. That would be great. So.
All right, other councillors who haven't spoken on this yet? Councillor Clark.
I apologize, Mr. Hartberg, I'm not familiar with who you are. I'm sure you're fantastic. And so I would like to know more about you. And as it relates to this, first I'd like to share just to share kudos to Cliff and his team with Public Works, with the work that you've been doing in terms of moving this forward just as nimbly as possible. This is certainly not easy. It's not easy to untangle all of the pieces that go together into this, and I think I think that shares a lot about the work that you and your team are doing, and so thank you so much to your team. I also wish that, I wish that we didn't have a need for a moratorium, and I think this is where we're at, and so I would be supportive of continuing that moratorium.
Manager Amber.
Something that actually I'm considering for a goal for the new year is working towards a cooperative collaboration with the parties who are interested in bringing the wastewater treatment infrastructure this direction and do it in a little bit more planned way and not so haphazardly. And actually that would probably require an elected official to assist me, and Cliff and Jim and also Curtis. We're all involved with trying to get an agreement to connect to a regional system. And I think there's an opportunity for some work to be done in that area if you have an interest this coming year.
Good. All right, Councillor Holt.
I just wanted to piggyback on what Norma Jean was asking about the work that they've been working on this and everything. And I believe that's why we have 30 hookups rather than 6, right? Because of that continuing effort that you're making, and I appreciate that. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
So this is a continuation, meaning we passed this in June, and now this is our 6th month? Okay.
You're correct.
Any further discussion? All right, I'm entertaining a motion on resolution number 2023-23. Councilor Osborne.
I move that the City Council adopt Resolution 2023-23, a resolution approving, I lost my place. A resolution approving a moratorium on development pursuant to Oregon 197.505 to 197.540 based on limited sanitary sewer capacity as ordered by the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second from Councilor Castillo. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. All right, we move to item number 8, which is the council will now go into an executive session, which is held pursuant to ORS 192.660, parentheses 2, parentheses I, to review and evaluate the employment-related performance of the chief executive officer of any public body, public officer, employee, or staff member who does not request an open hearing. So the council is recessed at this point, and then we will be returning following the executive session.
Can we please have a restroom break? Thanks.
Okay. Okay, well, either one for each.
Oh, yeah.
Not just because you do it. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Let's go back to my plate now. We'll take all those over there.
And you're no longer.
Okay.
Is that who shall we play? I need like 2
Congratulations, Christina.
Thank you so much.
I know, it's like saying.
Actually,
I didn't realize how much my sister and 2 daughters and I like myself.
She lives
A couple years now.
Family.
Yeah.
My family. Yeah. I mean, I like having them much.
I think a lot of people.
Are you ready?
Yes, hold on, I'm just telling my sister I got it.
Kind of started with that because it had to move through the council process.
I was hoping this would be good.
I'll be there after the meeting.
It takes a while to start. I mean, yeah, I should, because I've seen pictures of all of us.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I was wondering if I could speak to you two.
When we were all just about my kids. Is
that all right? You want to, I'm ready. Do you want to? I'm going to do them really quickly. Okay. Then I have time to go outside. Of course. Yes. Just come back and find me. Okay, so I think you have to. Are you guys doing executive session? Because I just. Yes.
When they come up next.
No, so am I done? Can I go now? Oh, thank God. I'm so excited. Well, I'll wait for you. Okay, I'll come back to you.
So there's a lot of great other appointments, you guys, you know.
I think we have
Thank you.
a water and sewer rate committee that needs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Is that new?
Thank you so much for checking with me.
I thought you were gonna say like, oh, it's special, and hype it up a little more.
Oh,
Oh, of course, yes, I got you, okay. Yes. This I remember.
That's a correct statement.
Those things I want.
I'm very pleased to meet you, and I wanted to.
Oh, thank you so much.
I will,
Councilor Osborne. Councilor Norma Jean. Osborne. Councilor Osborne.
sorry.
Councilor Castillo.
Sorry. I would love
Castillo.
Mayor, thank you so much.
I was like, I'm gonna run.
I can hear you, Doug. Oh, no, my husband took it, and she's not out the house anymore, but
I told Heather, I said. Just my past experience of being on the council.
Here's Mama.
How can you not your mother?
You're just far enough out of the fog, right?
When we started.
Well, you can only mind like that for so long, and it's like, oh, the poor thing, you know?
Yeah, it's like, okay.
That's my baby, I don't like to cry.
I had a dream with a dog that was just like that. It was amazing, and I really wish I could. It had a child, and I really wish I could remember what we named the child. But it was so important.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I have dreams, you know, and I'm glad about what I didn't want to dream. Other times it's like, I don't want to make it.
Great candidates.
Maybe go back to sleep and try to go right back into that dream again.
Water.
There's a little bit over there if you
All
want.
right, I'll go up there and grab it.
Many times. I was at your wedding.
Yes.
And then his wife had known since high school, so I just knew that was a fantastic candidate. He loves Creswell. He's moved here, he's just been around. He's budget committee for 5 years, so. Yeah, like I said,
I was hoping
yeah, I didn't know. We showed her all the time, and we just kind of said, well, a few times, but I didn't know her quite as well.
So,
She has,
you know,
a very unique choice on
who read the
which
application.
is something.
I've never seen
Stick around. Good meeting.
Is there anything else that you want to mention? Thank you so much, and you did really great. You were, like, my notes literally were like eloquent. You definitely have like a very strong sense of like projecting.
I was very happy to
I guess congrats on going for it and see what the next steps are. Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Take off.
Those were, I heard some words.
So I guess married?
Yes. My wife's been rewatching the thing.
So what's funny is in my office, my editor Aaron and I were and I was reading your names out loud and I said, you got really excited that like your name exists. So I just first want to say that and let you know that brought us some joy.
I'm so happy. Growing up, that was really hard, but starting from college.
I'm trying to steer in this last towards.
And so I know obviously I have everything you set up on that podium. Is there anything that sort of you didn't get to touch on that you or is it sort of all a blur?
It's kind of a blur. I was thinking of things like, oh yeah, I didn't mention. city council. The books that I'm reading are mostly electronic books.
His 4 years reading.
In a physical book.
And so he
Unless
didn't
it's
look
on
like
TV.
he said something at the time.
I just,
So many other things going. But then he backed off all the other commitments, and so now he had time again. And this opportunity popped up.
So when is the election for?
Well, see, this is just a 1 year. That's the beauty of it.
Oh, so there are other terms that are coming up in November?
Yes.
So both these guys.
That's exactly what I told him. Both of you guys ought to be in, because they're.
yes, we did verify it.
And she will need to run. Are there 3 positions open?
There's 7 on the board. Because her position, yeah, her position will come open. But I think they said there's some others that come open at the same time, including the mayor.
So she can
She could run again. And at that time, I don't know, I've never actually witnessed a whole election. I don't know if everybody goes speeches, that's talking to their neighbor. I don't know.
Still serving on the budget.
Who up against the most voters?
Second, they'll be going by 6-year-old.
Okay, yeah.
And then I don't know if Creswell continue to do a position where you vote for the top 3. Some might just vote for the top 3.
See, it's a learning curve for me too. I don't know how you do it.
One against the other.
It's,
She really have to run.
in a year.
And she'll have to run in the primary.
No, there's no primary.
I
didn't have a president.
I don't think there is. And there's also no section, it's citywide, there's no precincts.
And it just, it can't happen.
Unlike Eugene, Springfield, that are precincts, there's no precincts. It's the best way. So that a lot of them could be.
Totally. So, the top 3 vote getters.
Oh, is that what it is?
So it's gonna be interesting to see how many
I'm hoping that
homeless you can get to vote. Because they do, most of the homeless here do exist in and around Creswell because they've been here so long. And there's a few young that drift down the highway, but very few.
What's the language?
It's used to be figured. And interestingly enough, 8 to 10 individuals. Yeah. And so when it first developed and the city started paying attention, it pretty much asked questions. At that time, most of our homeless were actually in vehicles. We had like the elite. They were all sleeping in vehicles right in town, so they had the 72-hour move rules and all that. And then there were a few that would be out in the bush or this or that. It's kind of seasonal too. People will be here, they'll be living with somebody that was going to fight. They're out under the bridge.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was asking you, how many of the homeless do you actually notice? Well, actually quite a few. You'd be surprised, the homeless, the really kind of core homeless, they notice who comes in town. They really do, they take an active interest because those people could screw up their deal. So they've got as much.
Rather than people who
And for now, it seems like you're great work on the budget committee, which I have learned so much about.
Yeah, I went to Cottage Grove when I went, I visited, you know, the one right off Main Street where there's a donation. Yeah, I went down and met the people there at the time. A year ago, there used to be a woman who kind of loosely in charge. Her, where she got to come take a shower. I mean, what kind of curve you raise for? But what they did is they had to have someone kind of semi in charge. So if you talk to Teresa, okay.
We just went down and just kind of did a visual, we didn't talk.
Okay, well, Teresa, who works, kind of their community sharing, you know, the building that's part of where the library is. She kind of administers that building, but she also mama bears the homeless in town, like, you're semi-counselor, you're trying to find someone, a counselor that can help you either mentally or with paperwork, stuff like this. And loosely oversees the 2 communities.
My wife is
The one, you know, where everybody runs, the other one is harder to get into. You know, that they kind of built the permanent houses and some bathrooms down. It's only drawbacks, it's so friggin' far out of town. I said, man, you know, none of them have cars, They gotta go things.
Well, yeah, and then somebody said, well, they ride bikes, and said, well, we walk. There's no lanes or anything.
No, but I work at our food bank. And the hardest thing is, when you come in to get your food, if you have to walk it back out, you're carrying this stuff. So people without some way to get there, they're missing out. And the ones that only have bicycles, you can't carry it back. You also must have the bicycle with the trailer.
All right, well, thank you so much.
You know, the low end.
Oh, of course, that's the best part of my job. Just letting people talk about things they're passionate about.
What's your name?
Amanda.
Not everyone.
I'm with the crowd.
I was wondering if you're.
This should be me. Yeah. If you ever need anything, or if you have any ideas or anything.
Cloverdale goes out.
Something that I've been trying to do since I started is just really making sure that
where I am, I'm
each of the 3 cities we cover.
So how far out on
significant coverage of each of
well,
them.
you know where the
And so the
like
goal is
Weimar
to be like, okay,
you
there's
know,
some
the
Creswell
Union
Cover
Cross.
and Springfield.
I'm the house across the
You know,
field.
that's not how the world works,
The old-
but, you know, I'm always looking for more ideas just
I think the
in case,
ones
like,
used to
there's a
say.
slow.
So you look at the map.
Yeah, yeah, that's nice.
Because it takes a jog. I'm actually.
It used to be a Montana reporter, so.
Oh, awesome.
So the clerk says,
Right
Nice to
here.
meet you, Amanda.
Yeah, you
That's
too.
my house. See how the
I'm
boundary
gonna go find
goes?
Christina, I guess.
I'm 1 foot.
Yes, she should be
over.
outside waiting
Oh,
for
okay.
me.
So do you have a fruit stand?
Yeah, of course.
No, that's the best part is, let's see, my house is here, the fruit stand is here.
Okay.
So I put a gate in there and I walk out and the handsome girls that run the fruit stand, I just open my gate and leave the fruit out. It's so I'm talking.
See you in May.
Before, yeah, exactly. Right now. Be back to budgeting.
Fruit stands down in Cottage Grove, so you kind of make it bigger. Yeah, and there's just fresh food and vegetables, stuff like that. The person who was Bill Kemp. John, good to meet you. Interesting kind of a person. But yeah, I'm anxiously watching too. I mean, everybody used to throw their dog a bone out in this field. Well, sooner or later, it's going to get developed. There are things, one of the things, I went to the planning commission, Hawaii and several other states.
Anyway, so we're trying to figure out.
Feeling is creating more work.
Well, it's creating
than
work.
the value.
and- Exactly. We have to improve, we have
Bill,
systems.
Bill Cancer.
Yeah.
It's a terrible name. All right.
All right.
So what is your?
So I'm running for state representative
Okay.
for this district.
Okay.
Currently Charlie Conrad is state representative.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Okay.
In the primary.
Okay. And so give me your name again.
Darren Harvick.
Darren
Harvick.
Harvick.
Yep, Harvick. I'll give you a
Okay.
little flyer.
Yeah,
You'll
give me a
remember me more that way.
You go to the Kansas River very often?
Every, you know,
Did you ever stop at the Harvard Dakota's restaurant up there?
I'm about 45 miles across from Tokati Golf Course, way up there.
It's a long time ago.
That's helping with risk.
Why is it family or yours? Or?
I've had several businesses up there.
Oh, yeah.
So I was on the school board.
Let's see, when you go up these trains, there isn't, there isn't. Anyway,
Efficiency out of it.
Road that cuts off the right, kind of goes up, bunch of houses on the river.
Any pasture road or?
There's
There's a whole bunch, there's a whole bunch.
Oh, is there a bunch like that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they had this house, and I think some football player, somebody owned the house at one time. It's right in the bend of the river. It was like a couple of houses.
Russ Francis used to have a home up there, and that was good pasture.
It used to be this view up the river, and I was watercolor, so I painted the view of the river.
It's all good.
How much room for work are you guys on? All of this or is?
I'm still doing. Yeah, they have, and then the fire came through.
I haven't been there, you know.
435 of those homes, all those homes that you're talking about are all gone. They rebuilt them, but,
Wow.
26 miles. So I work from home 2 days a week.
Both sides, I was thinking it was all the way up.
No,
Wow.
no. The river became the channel, the wind tunnel, it just took, everything out was along the river took out.
I remember going back
And
there.
then Stephanie,
Right after you get off
had
there,
the
was
county manager, she
something on the left.
works from home.
Either a country store, man, it might have been like a little country store or restaurant. But it was kind of sat by itself, there wasn't a lot around it.
Well, you need to get back up there.
I need to. I need to. No, my great love now is that
You're gonna be full-time in the office.
Oh, God. Everybody my age is buying them. Because it's like your hips and knees.
It makes sense. They used to.
And so I go over to Eugene, Springfield, I put it on the back of the car and go
You know
over
how it
there.
goes.
They got those best trails.
How many miles could you go on it?
You can go about,
Yeah.
what level you put
What
it
steep
at.
it is, yeah.
But, well, I'm not talking about up, I'm
Right,
talking about
right.
how far you go.
Yeah.
You could get up to 58 miles if you wanted to.
So-
Put it down in the eco.
Yeah.
You go way up to 38.
Yeah.
So I want.
Is yours a three-wheeler or?
No, this is a two. The first one I tried was one of the Chinese bikes with a fat tire.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of liked it because I could go off-road, man, I hate zero, I just go anywhere. Well, then my son wanted that one because he hated my having one. So I gave it to him and I went back. And Eugene Electric Bicycles, I asked him, he goes, what do you like? Because like, well, they ride this thing out of Holland that is Danish or whatever. And it's totally different. They beat up with Bosch. And they use what's called a mid-drive as opposed to a rear drive. The mid-drive is dragging the crank. Updates itself like 1,000 times a second. That's how fast Bosch was developing the sensor. And so as you're going along, it just feels like it's easy to pedal, whereas the Chinese version feels like someone's pushing you a little bit. So they're totally different. But this European model, she doesn't mind. You can download stuff from the mothership. Not only that, but the 3 different speed levels, you can customize. You can tell it how fast to kick in, how much
Wayne doesn't care.
Yeah, you fine tune. And the third one is supposed to be IQ driven.
And so we don't have, well, so
It
Brent,
kind of learns your style. And this thing measures everything, elevation gain, your effort, your speed, your cadence, all that sort of stuff. And it feeds in and says, okay, from 100 maximize how far you're gonna go. Here's how like that.
but you got two. The next thing now is to do the bikeways, all these scenic bikeways that are out there nowadays. Paved roads now that have, there's national scenic bikeways in Oregon.
Sure.
And you can take them and you got those kind of just cruise around on these scenic bikeways that are really cool.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so far going up the old Bohemian Hill in Cottage
Well,
Grove.
I started in Cottage Grove here, but down at the Pine Horse, it's right next to the trail, hop over, headed out. Next thing I know, I'm past the dam. I haven't realized, I thought, oh, there's a little uphill, I'm trying to use an extra gear. And then come down the last dam. So I didn't realize I'd gone.
That's good.
Right.
So I just went about it. It is. I'm an advocate of
Good job here today, too.
All right, appreciate that.
Okay,
Thanks, Bill.
thanks for coming. Stay tuned, we'll see what happens.
Oh, you'll
Yes.
see us again.
Okay. Yeah.
All of that. All of the, well, mileage and all that, I mean, all that stuff is scanned in, so there's nothing I have to be there for. Well, okay, once in a while. I do the deposits, so I gotta go and get all these checks and stuff, but I mean, I can technically, yeah, I usually try to get once a week.
But you don't have to be there all the time.
No, when before, Stephanie was doing it before, and she would just come in on like Friday morning usually and do that and do a few other things. And she was just there like half a day on Friday.
Are you finding you can work in a smaller space and that you can downsize, or are you stuck in the building you're in?
We don't have enough room. We rented another building in another building.
So it is something.
I mean, we're at capacity in that building. I mean, it'd be great if we could add on, but.
Even with people starting to work remotely?
Oh, most people are coming back. And most of the, all the care coordinators and stuff, they're all, those are public facing.
Public facing.
You know, you've got a patio, call it a patio, but there's people, Fridays, I think it's, just people come in just to get, so they're, distribution of food, bus passes, blankets, tarps, and tents, and everything. So we got all that kind of stuff going on, and then all the different testing that they do. So they'll have, the clinic is open, it's got appointments all the time, but they'll do open testing where they just have, if it's good, they'll do it outside, and they have tents, and there's people come in and drop in, do testing and stuff for billions of things, but, so they got all that going on. So pretty much all of those people need to be there, or at least a lot of the time. I mean, they do desk work too, just entering all the stuff, but they pretty much need to be there. And the same thing with pretty much all the sites. I mean, we've got Rushburg, Grants Pass, Medford. They rent a place at Cave Junction for like 1 day a week, and then you're testing out there, and then not Klamath Falls, but Salem, we've got 2 offices in Salem, well, 2 in Medford. I mean, 2 suites next to each other. Hillsborough now.
Wow, yeah, you guys are really expanding.
Yeah, I mean, those are just physical offices. They pretty much cover it. Depending on what part, but for the OHA, about 3/4 of the county essentially cover whatever the number is. Some of it's remote, people take trips, but that's where we are. So, yeah.
So you're not gonna free up any real estate, so there's a lot of businesses that are, well, professional services industries or an industry where people are just working in office spaces. As they go remote work, there's a lot.
So as an executive session, maybe Michelle's job was these things. Okay, that's what I thought from the outside.
Yeah, but do you think that's
There are definitely reasons for both.
Definitely there's a reason for both.
Definitely reasons for both.
Hybrid moving forward, but I personally like working in office. This is my preference. But
I do.
If you have something
I
that
do.
does hard time public face, office space, that's a savings, essentially.
Well, for me, I mean, I don't have to drive.
And for the employee, I'll give up some of my space at home for the fact that I don't have to pay to drive.
Oh, I mean, I can
Go out to lunch, things like that up.
have lunch with Michelle and your spouse or whatever, your kids or whatever. I mean, doctors are here, the vet's here. I mean, it's very much more convenient for me. And the thing is, it's like, I can either, well, I mean, I work a lot of times where, like Friday, I can come in at like 9:30, 10, and leave at 4, 4:30. It just depends on the rest of the week. But, I can start work at 8:15, get up, let the dogs out, brush my teeth, and all that kind of stuff, right? I'm working instead of driving to work, so I'm working a half an hour earlier. Great. I can work a half hour later and basically have the same day, so I got another hour. Right. And I can either take off earlier, I can, walk at lunch, or go to the doctor, whatever, I mean, I can do all that kind of stuff.
There's so many facets to, there's benefits in them, and then of course I came off the paperless environment where you're always on, and I found it to be kind of draining. I warn people who want to work from home, but just be cognitive that you're not working more. Because you find yourself like wanting to like, oh, I'm just gonna get some week done, and then you next thing you know, you look up and it's 7 o'clock at night. You're like, wow, why did I work this day?
We have,
I think if it's like a good employee, there's less of a threat of working. Not enough, but more of a threat of working too much.
we
And not getting burnt out, not like having that defined, okay, everybody's going home, maybe I should leave my
desk now, and it'll be here tomorrow, you know, and you know, you can just kind of just keep going. And for us, we actually have a time clock. Yeah, and that's really helpful. I mean, it's like punch in, punch out. Click. Yeah, I mean, for not accepting out. Yeah, but most everybody's on it. I mean, there's a few. I mean, I think there's only 2 in finance. They're finance director. So it's like, if you're not approved for overtime, it's like, you know, that's why, like, oh, Friday, it's like, sorry, 4:32, I'm out. It doesn't matter, you know. So you gotta keep track of it. Yeah. A little tough, but that's why.
Yeah, so for our early employees would be very careful.
Yeah.
And then for salary, I'm just saying salary.
Oh, of course, yeah.
They can work for as long as they can. And I found myself in that world after about 30 years of having an office where I know this is my time and I go in and I'm just as productive, but I also don't burn myself out.
I was actually, I love talking about
Profession. Yeah. So I do warn our people when they want to work from home. It's like,
it's easy to go over, yeah.
Be careful you don't burn yourself out. I know you're going to play. I know you're going to be productive. I mean, you can see the potential for some people abuse it, right? And if you have those people in your organization, you already know that you're already getting home. Yeah. They probably shouldn't be working from home.
Yeah. But you can definitely work too much. But I think too, for me, I like doing hybrid. I really do, because I like to be able to have a couple days where you can flex time and do the other things you need to do. Like I said, doctors and stuff. But the other thing about working in the office is, well, I mean, it's the relationships, personal level of life, but the working relationships, because you have a level of collaboration and sharing of things that you don't get in emails, and you don't get in some, right, like, purchasing person is, over here, and they're talking to somebody else about an issue they got, and I'm like, hey, I do something like that. You never get those kinds of conversations, or somebody's talking about, hey, we got a shipment or something coming in, oh my gosh, this happened, and you go over and purchase the person, like, I still haven't seen this coming, so-and-so did something for the box that came in, it was mislabeled, I mean, just these little things that you get just by doing that, and then obviously learning, in-depth learning these things, like, you sit and go, oh, wait, let me show you. I was trying to figure out how to do this, and I can totally show you right now, as opposed to trying to talk to you on Zoom, and if you share the screen, it's not so easy, it's just, so so I don't like having the hybrid. Oh, yeah, Zoom's in person. You can, but it's not the same. And it depends on the person too, because some people learn better orally, some people learn better visually, some people learn better repetition. For me, it's like,
like you're saying, if you're in the room, you see somebody, you're working, you're training them, you leave them, you start doing the task, and you go, you do everything that you're supposed to be doing, and, glancing over or someone seeing, saying, hey, how you doing? Sometimes you can just look over, you can see the look on their face, like, oh.
Even puzzled on something, you don't even have to ask, you might just look and go, oh, I see where you probably are stuck.
Right, exactly, and you can't do that on Zoom.
No. Well, or, I mean, we did this once or twice. Stephanie would I'd share the screen, she'd show me how someone to share her screen, I'd share my screen, I'd do it, and she'd basically sit there and work on her stuff. And we'd just be on Zoom. And then she could look over at my screen, because she's sharing it on one of hers, and then she could watch me or whatever, she'd be doing her stuff, and just mute, and then I'd just unmute, hey, Stephanie, you got a question real quick? Oh, okay, she called. So we essentially did that, but I mean, it's not the most efficient thing, but I mean, we did it. We also did one time when we were doing emergency, we had just a flood, usually in the day of Friday, well, last half of the day of Friday is when we get just a flood It was crazy. It was nuts. But anyway.
I think you're right about the hybrid. It does seem to be I think that's gonna be the future in our jobs.
Our finance director does that too. In fact, I'm not sure. I think he still lives in Florence actually, but I think he's coming in through.
I don't necessarily need to meet specific days. There are occasions when it's a nice option.
Okay.
Like you're saying, like you're feeling sick and you want to that's probably a good reason to stay home and work on a project.
Well, for me, I mean, it's like I'm coming down with a cold. I'm probably contagious, but I'm not, I'm a little slow, I'm a little sluggish, but I can sit and plug in numbers and I can do stuff. I just go a little slower and it's like.
Where back in the day used to be you just take a little time to go to work, right?
You either get sick and you go to work and you get sicker and you spread it to everybody else, or you take off sick and no work gets done. Right now, it's like, okay, I get my work done, I'm home.
Well, most people just go to work.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Right.
tough.
Right. Last everybody's like,
Oh, we grew up.
And I'm like, in fact, I told her, well, I'm not gonna relax. I was telling Stephanie, I go, I'm thinking I should stay home from work because I don't want to get anybody sick, but I can come in. And then we're like, I don't think, Tuesdays are about the only day that I kind of do that because I do the check round. Not that I'm the only one who can do it, but I'm the typical one. And it's Sam or Stephanie who are already way into overtime. The other people don't do it. So it's like, that's the only day that I'm kind of rules of It's like Thursday, Friday, I'm like, we have another, I call them CES checks, but they're checks that are not issued. They have just a PO box on them, so they're confidential type ones. Then we do a lot of stuff for them, we write by hand. So I have those, Stephanie can do them, Sam can do them, but the other people that aren't. And she's like, I'm gonna be in, Sam's gonna be in, if we need to write one, we can come in. They both live like 5-10 minutes away from the office. She's like, so, we ended up writing 4 or 5, but she was already in the office because she was training. So she's like, I don't worry about it. But that's like, other than that, some people do it. It's just, my days are in, their days weren't in, but they're like, yeah, whatever. But, yeah, it's like, okay, I'm like, I can come in, I can get people sick, or I can not. She's like, no, don't come in.
So we've learned that it's an accommodation that will keep people productive. If it's not abused, it's not a horrible thing. Right. And trade rules using that to the future workforce, you will have to have, they'll not necessarily hate or guarantee you can work from home. And I think we have to have a policy that gives us guidelines to say, okay, here's a situation where, yeah, you can work from home, and then according to policy, it's not working because of this, and you're gonna have to come back in the office. So it wasn't like hey, let's have a policy, and it's a free-for-all, a policy, and it's like guidelines, right?
And, I mean, I can think of a lot of ways, like, when I was a junior, totally reasons that you could be at home. And there were totally times that being together was helpful. I mean, we had, and some of it is how a particular project is going. Like when we were working on fast stuff, prototype stuff where we were going fast, we had a big bullpen. Everybody doing CAD stuff, and you had your offices, and you all were doing CAD in the same area. And there was a lot of collaboration because I'm working on this structure, and you're working on this structure, but this one goes inside of this one. And so you're talking like, okay, well, hey, do you know what kind of so there's a lot of things like that. Also just, older guys, more experience, younger guys, and it's like, hey, I need to do faster, I can do this kind of thing. Oh yeah, that kind of thing. It's used for 20 years, Oh yeah, there was this thing. So then you get all that kind of stuff. And then you go back to your desk and you're doing calculations, you're doing on the weekends, we'd be doing overtime. And there were just times where you were just going. I mean, you knew what you were doing, and you were just going. And then there were other times when you were, and then there were times you were just going, right? Those times you're just going, it's like, it can be, who knows where, I mean, it doesn't matter. So there's definitely times, I think, where you can, but how do you, that group dynamic of collaborating together, like anything, it's kind of it's a team that does it or doesn't do it. It isn't, you can't just throw people together and have it happen. And you can't just take people away and stop either, because, you know, you can Zoom. Now, I mean, if you were both at home, or, you know, 4 or 5 guys were at home, you can do it. I mean, we used to do it. When I was working at RDC, we would just call you on the, we do it on the phone. We called, there's a couple guys who were in Florida, you know, working on engine and stuff. We just call each other up, and we'd be on the phone for an hour, you know, I'm working on stuff, and they're working on stuff, and we kind of like what I was telling Stephanie, we'd be talking, and then we'd, okay, and then you just leave each other for a little bit, okay, I'm gonna come back, I gotta ask you, because you're moving stuff around, or you're reorganizing. So there are times you need it, but, and I think it's more of just the mentality of, you know, asking for help and wanting to work together. You can only build that so much.
But this, I've been cutting each other. They've been collaborating on headsets their whole childhood, and we grew up on online gaming, and it's that's the new workforce, right? And they're way more capable of doing that than we were.
Yeah.
Are.
Yeah.
I think I'm intrigued. I do, like you said, there are ways to accommodate collaboration of video conferencing and sharing your desktop. Yeah. You can say, hey, see my screen, this is what I'm dealing with, and they can see it. I mean, we didn't have that kind of tools back even 10 years ago. They might have been there.
Not in the mainstream.
Not in the mainstream, not uploaded on every laptop.
Yeah.
It's distributed to everyone everywhere now.
Yeah. We were doing that somewhat when I was with Don Douglas, but
sure,
that's not technology that everybody had, you know, I mean,
you're on giant servers.
Well, I mean, we were doing VR stuff.
Yeah.
We were taking our CAD models and making 3D models, and we were actually, you know, different people in different locations were watching us move things around, you know, and putting things together, and looking at the, you know, flaps actually, and this and that happening, and all that stuff, you know. So you're getting input from people and all that stuff, and then you're running lines and you're doing stuff, and everybody's like, yeah, okay, that should work, yeah, okay, that'll work, you know. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff, but that's what's capable now of games.
Right.
But
You could do that.
ability to be remote.
Sitting like Tom's drinking a coffee.
Just about, yeah, just about. Or at least an iPad, yeah.
Crazy, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, but I think, yeah, I
don't think it's going away. I don't think work from home, remote work, whatever you want to call it, is going away ever.
no, and I mean,
People to do, you know, in-office stuff as needed, and maybe even the majority of the time needed.
I think one of the things that I think about, and I don't know, this is going to, I think, be somewhat tricky. One of the side things, I guess you could call it, is who pays for what. Because, like for me, I already had internet, high-speed internet at home. I didn't know whether I was working or not. So it wasn't an issue. Right. But a couple of people that I worked with, I mean, well, one's still there. She has high-speed deal. The other one was loud. She didn't have internet at home. So she had an agency phone, and she was using a hotspot. Well, it's fine, but, you know, I kind of look at that and I go, okay, she's getting paid. Care, but it's like, that's an inequity that it needs to be thought about when people come up with their policies, because it's like, okay, so I'm using my electricity at home. Is it a lot? No. But then IT wants us to leave our machines updates because you do updates. I'm like, well, I would normally have it turned off. So, again, little things, but not to everyone. And if you want to be completely equitable, right? I mean, you know where I'm going. It's like, if you're going to be fair, it's like, well, everybody's got to be the same. So either you're going to pay me, $3 for my electricity use, and you pay everybody else, or you're not going to pay me. You're not going to, some people aren't going to get it, some people are, right? It's got to be the same. So, and if you get the job, you're right, if you get the job, part of it's at home, part of it's not, and then you say, well, I'm not going to know, you not get the job. I mean, those are just policy decisions and businesses that are going to have that need to put in place or think about it.
I think the policy that we have is written where it's up to the individual to file their tax returns, and you can actually get some tax credits for businesses of home and for what do they call it? Unreimbursed businesses and something like that. Yeah. So there's kind of a loophole there for the company.
But does that have to actually be filed or substantiated by your employer? I don't know. I have no idea. I honestly don't care because I'm not going to, it's something that's not worth my time.
Right, it's going to be made.
But if it's an issue for people, employers might have to know that at some point. So those are the kinds of things that are like, you have to think about that. And then, when we wait for fathers, we've got a couple people like Katie, they wanted her to be at home. I mean, being in the office all the time, she was purchasing, Ashley was purchasing as well. But she got to be home 2 days a week. And she was hired afterwards, and she came in with the understanding it was going to be 5 days in the office. But that still is tricky, so that became an issue. So, yeah.
Up soon, right? I said they've got to wrap this up soon, right? How was your trip? Yeah. Was it? Nice.
I haven't had a chance to talk to her about it.
No, I haven't, because she's been sick.
You were out.
I was
when we
gone.
first went back.
Yeah. And then I got back and she was out sick.
Oh, gosh, no. She got it a lot worse. I ended up getting it from her.
Yeah. We got sick too when we got home from our trip. We got colds.
Yeah, I think we got it when we got back. I know I got it when I got back.
Yeah.
Because I got it about a week after her. And I'm sure it was from her.
I'm sure she shared.
But, no, it was fun. I got all kinds of pictures. All kinds of stuff. It was not a relaxing, I mean, in the sense of just like, relaxing. You were going. We did about 1,500 miles, something like that.
Crazy.
It's basically the size of roughly Oregon, Colorado. We went from one end, which I would say would be like maybe like Madras. Down around and all down the coast. Back up to like Bend. I mean, it'd be like that kind of a trip. But it was fun.
Good.
Got to see a lot of stuff. Oh my gosh. The price of things is just so cheap.
So different. Yeah.
Oh man. And so laid back. Yeah, everybody laid back.
Yeah.
got to, I should probably show you pictures at some point, but at one point we were in this cloud forest, so it's kind of partway down the mountains, and it's cloudy, a lot of mist, and a lot of, really tropical, kind of. And there was a lot of butterflies, but hummingbirds. So this one outdoor place, and they have